people because they dating who they choose to date. Now, it has to be like the pushback comes when they start to make their relationships our career, like where they bash South African men, where they constantly marry to live in our country and utilize our resources. It will be fair if they marry and go enjoy their husbands' countries. I think that should always be the position. The position shouldn't be that some specific South African man doesn't want South African women to date particular men of particular nations. You don't have a control over that. You don't control South African women. So sometimes you can tell when an insecure man speaks, and when a man who's just coming from a fair position say, you know what, we cannot continue to see these arranged marriages where people marry and live here and utilize our resources that should be going to our people. And then that's different from someone who's just jealous and hating because he feels like men from other countries apparently taking a listen, boy. Yeah, so because now these people, when they speak, sometimes they make us look bad, man. South African men are not insecure. We're not trying to control people to who they date, man. We should be fair. The position should be that we want to reduce the amount of aliens in our country, and if these marriages are used as an access to our country, that's the argument. It shouldn't go beyond the board where now you're trying to dictate to women who they should date. If your preference, like my preference, is that I will never mess up with women who date foreigners, in particular from specific nations like Nigeria, that's my preference. But that doesn't mean I don't want women to date Nigerians. Anyone is welcome to date who they want. But then you find these South African men who are just angry that a particular woman is dating a foreigner, or what justifies that hate? Nothing. If they dating to secure papers to be in our country, that should be our pushback. It mustn't go beyond where now you're trying to dictate to women to say, no, don't date that person, date that. No, the power I have is to not date women who date particular nations if I don't want them. That's the power I have. You can date who you want, but I don't have to date you.
But the problem now starts with the dilution, Maboso. You know, where you look at other races, how they protect, even Bona, like Africa. Let's take it just from Botswana or most of these African countries where you cannot, the dilution becomes a problem when now we one day going to be sitting with a president who's fucking half and half. And that's what we don't want, because now, to a certain extent, yes, we can't stop people from dating whoever they want, but it becomes a problem when now these women don't want to go back to their Kamatawabo, and these children are post one day they might be our president. One day they might marry our own children, bloodlines that have Boko Haram and eating raw meat and being militant and being rebels. To a certain extent, it's dangerous. Ask any Pakistani national if they would allow their women to marry black South African men or Nigerian or whatever. They wouldn't. That's how they're able to keep their cultures intact.
Good point. But for many years now, when South African men were trying to do that which most men do for their communities, especially in these uncivilized countries where they are not democracy, then we were called that we are insecure, we are all that. We were called all names. So South African men stopped doing that because we don't want to police people from who they sleep with. The only thing we're fighting for, which I agree with you, Spongile, is that we must push back on people trying to assimilate here in our country. If you marry a foreigner and have children with foreigners, we must force you to go live in those countries where they come from with those kids, so that we can avoid having aliens in our position of power in our country, children born out of aliens. So there I agree. But beyond that, Spongile, if we start to bring back the culture of saying date within your own groups, telling these women, they're gonna call us all kind of names. We are insecure, we are a bunch of fools, we want to control women. No, you guys, women in this country for many years, they said they want rights, they want equal rights. We mustn't tell them what to do. I mean, we've been told that many times. There's nothing we can do, Spongile. We will be called all kind of names. So we have to allow anybody to do what they want, as long as it's not going to come at the expense of our country. Meaning, if you marry a foreigner, go live with them in their country and take those children there. That's what we must be fighting for. If anything beyond that, Spongile, they will just call us names. We're trying to police them. So no, we can't do that. That one we gave up long time ago.
That's true, my boss. I mean, we've been insulted for so many. I mean, at some point, South African men did say something like that, but And we did try to warn these women in terms of these men coming into the country, but we were insulted, and we're still being insulted. I mean, look at social media today, Maboso, in these people's, pages. How many South African women are still talking bad about us? I mean, you can go to a post of somebody out of nowhere just saying that, oh, South African men are this and that, and you will see almost close to maybe 5,000 to 3,000. None of those, those comments are positive. All of them are negative, and sometimes this is where you see now, if we're looking at it, to be honest, in terms of South African men not even having to talk anymore about foreigners, and we're always saying that, no, but South African men, you've become weak. Maybe it's due to this mere fact that we see all of these things and we see all of these insults, and maybe that is just an inspiration for them to just give up, because how can you now start protecting people who go on social media and just bash you? Where do you start? I mean, we have been called all sorts of names. All sorts of them. Some of them are vile. I mean, I saw a post of some American woman. Was it American?
I wanted to talk about that, Nechi. I wanted to talk about that. She just insulted us last week. She made an outrageous post insulting black South African men. You know who's all over those comment section saying the most crazy things? Black South African women in particular, and you won't find Indians, colored or Mzungu women there. Go read what they're saying about us. Not even a single one is defending us and saying a foreigner is bashing us. Not even patriotic women are in that spaces, and this is where the problem is. Women who claims to be patriotic, they don't even put effort. These Jolofinas managed to be on Rumble and get away with it for many years, because most women in this country who are not Jolofinas, by the way, Jolofinas are not even 1% of 1%, but anyway, they were allowed to have the loudest voices, because I always say this, Nechi, even the women who claim to be patriotic and love this country, in silence, deep inside, they actually enjoy when South African men have been bashed.
True.
They might not agree with me, but they actually like that shit, because if they didn't, they have voices. We have seen them when they rise to the occasion and defend this country.
I've seen some patriotic women in these lives. They come to this live reposting things, where South African men were being bashed, reposting it, and I was like, But you, in your lives, when we're in these lives, you're busy out here acting like you're defending us. We need to be honest and frank about this. There is a huge number of people in social media who are just out for bashing South African men, and that's a fact. I've seen thousands of these posts, and none of these posts, you'll never see anything good. Maybe a few South African women there and there will say things like, no, I love my South African men, or something like that.
They are not bashing South African men. They are bashing black South African men. Black.
Yes, it's black.
Yes.
It's black.
Sorry. Black. That's true. I mean, I saw a post, Maposo. I'm sure you saw that post of that Mzungu lady, and she was saying, hey, South African men, I didn't know South African men were this beautiful. Hey, did you see the post there?
No, you must never say anything good about us. And do you know who defend black South African most? Black South African men defend women of this country more than anything. To a point where there's this Congolese guy who's a foreigner. He even said this himself, and that video was trending. He said, you know what? Since I've been here, I've observed that black South African men are the most bashed men on this continent. When women of this country are bashed, in particular most likely to be by these foreign men, it's South African men who come to defend them. It has always been the case, even though I see that it's been reduced, because I think many in this country are fed up with these digital wars. They now they just staying away from it. You can't continue to be the one who cares about the country and want to defend the pride of this country, while the other ones, they think they are a global citizen. They are out there for everyone. You can't do that. You look at other women on this continent, they are constantly bashed by their own men, to a point where their own men make posts and content about comparing them with other foreign women. But no. So that's why for me, I said, if you listen to me, Nechi, most of the times, I stay away from defending women in this country. I only defend them when I feel like this is bias now, they've been attacked unfairly. But for most part, I exclude myself from defending South African women because the energy, they don't reciprocate, they don't return the energy. They actually likely to bash the men of this country with foreign people. They like doing it.
Maboso, I have a question, and you were saying something here about hate, right? I don't believe that out of nowhere there can just be a build-up of hate of women who date outside. It just doesn't happen like that. I think the hate is not even in terms of being insecure, wanting to police South African women. It is just
but we have to be fair then, Nechi.
No, I'm thinking in terms of wait, my boss. You come in. I just want to say that doesn't that hate that these men have assimilate from this post and this social media wars that has been happening for more than decades now? I mean, at some point there was a huge Twitter hashtag that South African men were dogs. I saw thousands and thousands of South African women saying a lot of foul shit, a lot. I mean,
yeah. So Nechi, like I'll try to be fair in this way. In every society, when foreign men comes there, local men, especially regarding the competition for women, South Africa is home to most migrants in Africa. That was bound to happen. So what we have seen in the initial stage of this was men from other African countries, which are at the low key of food chain. They are poor. They're just beneath us. We have to call a spade a spade. So we always see ourselves as superior because we are. As long as we talk about economy and standard of living, we are much better. So when the sisters marry into this men, we this kind of men, we always saw it as a low standards, like you are degrading yourself, you are settling for less. Can't you do better than that? Because in reality, you are. Because it's like, nature, will you allow your sister to be married to the poorest guy, knowing that she's gonna have kids with this poor guy and this poor bastard will never be able to support the family? It's the same with this so-called fellow African people. When they come here and marry their sisters, they're just increasing poverty because first of all, they will never be able to afford to take them and go live with them in the shitholes they came from. So they will be adding poverty to us. So that's why those kind of marriages and arrangements were always degraded. Now, in defense, these people, ever since the birth of social medias, they've created a defense mechanism where they're trying to uplift the spirit of these broken men who are living in our society, who don't have balls or better homes and environment to take these women to their country. So they all squatting into our country, and these women who are married to them, they know that their marriages look down upon. It looks like a broken arrangement, an arrangement of parasitic arrangement. So they come online trying to say, yeah, these men are good, they have got money, just to boost the morale. But in reality, we know they don't have money, they're not good, hence they are not in their country, but they're here in South Africa. This is what created these dynamics. These women are creating a defense mechanism because of their experience in reality. In reality, nobody respects a Jolofina. Wherever they walk to, they are looked as like, wow, why will you even settle for that? Nobody really respects women who are dating Zimbabweans or Mozambicans, because why marry a man and live in your father's house with that man? Nobody's gonna respect that in any society. It's not just South Africans. So they are pushing back on social medias, and they just went overboard with it, where they just normalized it to an extent, and it's not helping anyone. It's not helping foreigners to begin with, but disrespecting South African men who built this country, who are owning this country, who are protecting it. It's not gonna be good for anyone, including even women who are doing that. You see, Niche. But it does come from the fact that they are also disrespected on ground. The people of this country might have never taken it to social media, but if on the ground nobody respects people married to these people. I don't know if you've got family members who are married to Nigerians, but if you do, who respects that marriage in your family?
I'm married to Nigerian.
I don't, man. To be honest, I don't.
Exactly.
My family, I think all of them, they are married to Limpopo guys. But anyways, yeah, I mean, if you were to Google right now, I saw this on another South African man's post, right? If you were to check, I get it whenever you search a sort of like a hashtag on TikTok, it shows you the engagement numbers and how many posts have been there. And you can just search, South African men, anything that has to do with South African men, and you can add any bad word, and there's almost 2 billion worth of engagement on that negative connotation alone, and try to do the opposite with South African women, you'll find zero. Sometimes we need to be honest, man. This whole thing that is happening within this, and it's been happening for a very long time, for decades now, from the dawn of social media, it doesn't help South African women, honestly, having to insult the men of this country. And we need to be honest about it. The more they are angry, I don't think making them angry is a good thing, especially in the state that we're in. I mean, let's just look at the reality. Most South African men, what do you call it? I forgot the term. But I'm just saying that don't make things worse for the men of this country, especially in the state that we're in as a country. And this you must understand, we are all emotional people in the world, and seeing these things and these insults does not help.
Yes, look, some outrage is what it's fair, from the women. It's like, for example, because we've got a working systems that will produce stats. When the stat says South African men are very violent, there's gender-based violence, there's women who are not analytic, who won't dive into that and understand how stats works, and consider that there's many countries that don't even bother to produce such stats. So they just gonna see it as like South African men being problematic more than any man in the world, because they're not gonna apply logic to that. And then you're gonna have a group of women who are just angry due to their past experience with local men, who can't wait to have a rage and see something negative and capitalize on that. So all these groups exist. It's unfortunate, but you can understand that the crime is there as well, including gender-based violence. Is honestly they need to be dealt with. But then compared to who? What bothers me is when this ignorant group of women compare us to the worst of the worst, just because they don't even produce stats. You see, that's where if you compare us with civilized countries where women are very safe, fair enough. We still need to work on that. We need to improve. But you cannot be comparing us with the worst of the worst and saying these are better men, especially when you're comparing us with men who are disrespecting us, who are squatting here in our country, constantly trying to belittle us. You're not making things better for any cause. You are becoming a destructive person, and that's where we should push back.
Simply saying that, guys, can you hear me? Network is bad.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm at the side of the house where
we can hear you.
But network is bad. Okay, yeah. I'm for just like how they do it in their African countries, that if you a female that's marrying maybe a man marrying their female, maybe there are certain things that you can access as a citizen, and maybe I don't know if it happens in African countries where maybe the mother, the female is married to a foreign man and they have children, and their children are excluded from participating in the country's politics, the country's sports. And I think that's what we should do as well as South African. I mean, in South Africa, where you find these women don't want to migrate with their men, let's exclude their children, exclude them from the political space, exclude them from the representing us in the world stage, exclude them at all costs, because eventually it's the patriarchy that men created, that ingane yendoda. So why don't you just take your child to your roots, where you come from as a man, to teach your child your cultures, your languages, and so on. How do you then move to another man's land, not want to integrate, not want to learn the languages there, but want to create your own culture, your own community? That's the problem. They come from their African countries, come to South Africa, integrate, but create their own communities within integration, their own businesses that don't pay tax, push powder, push crime, push all the shit under the sun just because of the same skin color. it shouldn't be the order of the day. I personally don't have a problem with people who do whatever they want to do, as long as it doesn't harm me. You can be gay for all you want. I care. You can be lesbian. You can date a Congolese. It doesn't harm me. It becomes a problem if it now challenges my children in spaces your children shouldn't have. You can't have dual citizenship and want to represent Congo and want to represent South Africa when my child has got one chance and one shot.
That's true. And actually, when you're talking about Sisma out, I would say Sisma out are also a problem when I'm a boss on, because I heard you talking about South African women, especially the Jolofinas, that will bash South Africans and whatever. So we have to realize that association is now beyond with this one's Mamikenge, Abu Sisma out, which are also bashing, it's as if they are not men, they're bashing South African men. And they also, I don't know if whether the name of them, Sisma out Cholo, because they also go into that, trip to eat the spinach, they all